Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to Cath-Lit Live, episode number 11. I'm your host, Amy Cattapan, pen name AJ Cattapan. If you are new here to Cath-Lit Live, here's what we do. I bring you brief interviews with Catholic authors who have new books releasing. So make sure that you follow me on YouTube, turn on the notifications so that you always get the latest and greatest in new Catholic literature. Well, I have another first for you tonight. This is going to be my first priest author on Cath-Lit Live. We're going to be talking tonight with my friend Father Edward Looney. Now, he is a priest of Green Bay, a radio personality, host of the podcast How They Love Mary, the vice president of the Mariological Society of America, and the author of several best-selling Catholic devotionals. So please welcome to the show, Father Edward Looney. Woo!
Well, it's great to be with you tonight. And I know that we prayed the rosary together a few months ago during a little novena I had online. So wonderful to be with you.
And it's wonderful to be with you again, too. And thank you so much again for asking me to be part of that novena. It was really a lovely thing to do. And I think a lot of people appreciated it. Well, I'm excited to have you talking tonight about your newest book. As I mentioned in your bio, you're the author of several best-selling Catholic devotionals. Today, we're going to be talking about meditations after Holy Communion, guided meditations for every Sunday and other holy days. So tell us, what is this book about, Father? Give us our 30-second elevator pitch for someone that's like, why do I need meditations on Holy Communion, after Holy Communion? What is that?
Yeah, so the title really gives it away, doesn't it? Meditations after Holy Communion. It's really a book to help us better appreciate those moments once we get back to the pew, or maybe even once we get home, to really spend some time in prayer with the Lord, knowing that we were able to receive him in Holy Communion. So it's really a book about teaching people how to pray and to engage in conversation with the Lord.
So what inspired you to write this book? Why did you feel we needed this?
Yeah, so there's a few different reasons. You know, one of the reasons was it actually came out of an academic research that I was doing. Now, the book has nothing to do with academics. It's written for anybody to use, but I was looking to write a paper for the Mariological Society of America, and their conference that year was on Mary and the sacraments of initiation. And I said, well, I'd really like to write on Marian prayers and Holy Communion. And so I just was going through, I was at actually Mundelein Seminary in the library there, using their library, and I went to the section where they would have the prayer books, the hand missals. And so I went there, I pulled one off and looked in the back. Oh, here's a prayer to Mary after Holy Communion. Okay, went to the next one, here's a prayer. Well, then I finally get to another book on the shelf. It was called Christ in Me. And immediately in my mind, I said, well, Christ in me, well, Mary had Christ in her. Maybe this is a book about Mary and the Eucharist. And it wasn't entirely, but this priest, Father Daniel Lord, who was a very popular Jesuit in the early 1900s, he wrote these meditations after Holy Communion. He usually would deliver them. He would actually guide people in meditation, especially religious sisters. He said a lot of masses for nuns. And basically the book is a compilation then of his meditations. And I gave my paper at the conference, and there was the scholar from England, and she gets a little shout out, I think, in the acknowledgments. But this scholar from England, she said to me, she's like, you should actually do what you did. I wrote a book called A Rosary Litany, renewing the pious custom of inserting a phrase in the Hail Mary like Louis de Montfort proposed. And she said, you have such a gift for bringing back old things and making them relevant and new again. You should write a book like that. And I said, okay, well, I'll think about it. And so, of course, then the pandemic happened, and I said, oh, I have time to write that book. Kind of went. But you know what? The other reason I wrote the book, too, and was when I was a newly ordained priest, I was saying several masses any given weekend. I'd be saying, 2 Saturday night vigil masses, 3 or 4 on Sunday. So 4 to 5 Sunday masses on the weekend. And I just realized when I would get to the 5th mass or the 4th mass of the weekend, I'd be like, do I really acknowledge and know what it is that I'm doing and what I'm celebrating right now? And so I actually began saying, truly it is you, at the point of elevation, as a way for me to reinforce my Eucharistic belief in the mystery of the Mass that we celebrate. So that's why I wrote the book was really, I think that we all need to have that reinforcement of knowing who it is that we receive in Holy Communion.
Oh, that's lovely that you say that, because I was actually just thinking while you were telling that story about how pre-pandemic, during the summers when I'm off from teaching, I would walk to a local church here, and at the morning mass, the weekday mass, there was a gentleman in the small crowd who every time at the point that the priest elevates the host, just kind of yells out, "My Lord and my God." And the first time I was at a weekday mass, I was kind of like, okay. But then I started really liking it because it reminded me what is happening at that moment, right? That memory of really like clicking in, like, don't doze off here in the middle of the Eucharistic prayer. This is an important thing going on.
I remember Father Larry Richards. I used to listen to every one of his homilies and talks when I was, coming of age. He was a popular speaker. He still is popular to this day. But I remember him saying that every time he elevated the host, he would pray, increase my love for you and for your people. That's what he would pray as a priest. So when I say truly as you, and that was the original title I wanted for the book, but publishers like titles, so they come up with their own titles, and that's fine. But I tell the story about truly as you right there in the introduction. And yeah, it's one of those affirmations, my Lord and my God. Like they'll do that at Spanish Mass. When you celebrate my Spanish Mass, they'll say, Dios mío, Dios Señor, or whatever, So yeah, it is a beautiful thing of our Eucharistic devotion.
So how do people use this? Are you thinking people are bringing with it to church and they're praying it right there in church, or after?
Yeah, good question. So I envision it being used in many different ways. I think the very first way someone could use it is like if you're a family going to Mass, you've got a 10-minute drive. So each reflection has what I call like the preface, or kind of like a little story, a meditation element, kind of teaching how it is or why it is we have that theme for the day. And then there are questions, and then there's a little prayer. So I think people could read the preface or the beginning section as you're driving to church as a family. Maybe that's your conversation in the car. Okay, then you go to Mass, you receive Holy Communion. Well, then maybe as a family on the way home, look at those questions, discuss them with one another, and then conclude with a prayer. Now, maybe you don't do it in your car. Maybe you're one person, and so you just take the book to church. You have it in hand, and maybe you read the preface before Mass, and then you do the little conversation with Jesus afterwards, either after Mass or maybe after Holy Communion, depending, is there music, whatever. So I think there's a lot of different ways that the book can be used, even, maybe later in the day as a way to call to mind, well, I went to Mass this morning and I don't want to forget that. Sunday is the Lord's Day when we go on Sunday. So how is it that we can sanctify the Lord's Day? And maybe it's calling to mind our Holy Communion from earlier in the day and spending some time in prayer with that.
Lovely. So why do we need this book today?
Yeah, there was that Pew survey from a few years ago that really talked about Eucharistic faith and devotion, that most Catholics don't understand the true presence, that we believe Jesus is present, body, blood, soul, and divinity in the Holy Eucharist. So people don't know that. They don't believe that. It's not because we haven't taught them. I think we have. It's just something that maybe they don't understand. They can't comprehend. Even sometimes in our own language, we'll talk about, the bread and the wine at Mass, so we need to reaffirm, I think, that the fact is Jesus is present there. I receive him in Holy Communion, and we want to strengthen that. Now, of course, we're living in this pandemic time. So, I think we've seen also, again, another decline in belief in the true presence with this. And so I wrote the book kind of during the pandemic, hoping that we would be coming out of the pandemic, and it could be a way that we reclaim our Eucharistic devotion. But even for those not able to go to Sunday Mass right now, well, maybe this book can help them deepen their spiritual communion. Pray your spiritual communion, and then maybe spend a few moments in prayer and meditation with the fact that you're communing, that you are one with the Lord in your prayer.
I like that, because you're up in Green Bay. I'm down here in the Chicago Archdiocese. And, you know, we've got a bunch of parishes doing wonderful live streaming. And then we're lucky enough here in Chicago, one of the local news stations allows the cardinal here to do a half-hour mass every Sunday on a major station. But it's a half-hour mass, right? It's in the empty cathedral, and it's done quickly, and there's virtually no communion time because there's nobody there but like the cantor and the lector and then two priests. And I was just thinking, you know, that would be a nice way to kind of extend it, right? To watch your televised or your live stream mass and then do your guided meditation to bring it a little deeper.
Yeah, definitely. I think that this could be a way that we kind of foster a deeper appreciation for the spiritual communions we are making those, and you know, it elongates then that time of prayer. You know, I've heard about the 30-minute Sunday Mass on television, and people love it because it's 30 minutes, but it's not about the time. It's really about, you know, engaging with God in prayer. So that's what I hope meditations after Holy Communion will do for people.
All right. So if people want to learn more about your book, this book or other books, where should they go check you out?
Sure. I have a website, edwardlooney.com. I think all the books are listed there, hopefully. Of course, support your local Catholic bookstores. Go to Amazon. You can find the titles there too. Buy from this book specifically is from Sophia Institute Press. I also have a Lenten Journey with Mother Mary that came out last year with Sophia Institute. So, you know, so I have a few books that you could just get right from the publisher. So I'm on social media, all the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at FR Edward Looney. So pretty simple. Find me there. And yeah, hopefully people will be able to check those resources out and deepen their own spiritual lives.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight, Father Edward. I really enjoyed talking with you again.
Oh, my pleasure. And thanks for having me.
All right. We're going to wave goodbye to Father Edward, and then I'm just going to wrap up really quickly, reminding you all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you've read any of Father Edward's books and you would recommend them, let us know in the comments, in the chat below. I'm sure he would love to hear from you, and feel free to share this video with others. So like and subscribe, and until next time, happy reading, everybody.